Welcome back to County Board Wrap Up. I'm Kara O'Donnell, your host, and this is our look at some of the key actions the board took over the past month. We are back once again with Board Chair Matt DeFerranti and Board Member Takis Karantonis. Now, Arlington revised its approach to stormwater management in the wake of the 2019 July storm event that caused pretty devastating losses to both residential and business properties, and that caused some reprioritization of some projects. Now, next month, when the board adopts its fiscal year 2022 budget, the board will also vote on whether to increase the stormwater tax to help pay for some of those large-scale stormwater infrastructure and maintenance projects. And some of those items were also important topics at this March meeting. So first, Takis, I will start with you. Let's talk generally. How is the county really innovating to improve some of that stormwater infrastructure?
We're first accelerating our investment and trying to work with partners. So, for example, for Mailoran, we work with the city of Alexandria. But now we have another very interesting collaboration with the Arlington Public School System. At the Reed School, we are going to build a vault, a cistern, basically a very big vault that will take a while to build, but then when we will have it, we will have a buffer for 540 and a little bit more than that 1,000 cubic feet of stormwater, so that it is when we have these absolutely ferocious precipitation events that climate crises are just going to throw in our way, and we will have 10-year storms every a couple of times a year, so that we will have a buffer where all this water will be stored before it is released slowly down the water sedge, so that it allows us to manage that flow far better. And it will deliver the neighborhoods, especially there, which is really next door to Westover, to the Westover neighborhood that has suffered absolutely devastating, the devastating impact of the July 2019 event. So this will be a safeguard. We will be able to manage that flow and to manage these volumes of water far more efficiently. For that, we have to invest. And as a matter of fact, also in the CIP, there is a 10-year investment plan of almost $190 million that is there. And there is also progressive thinking of how best to finance that, of how best to apportion the contribution that individual property owners and businesses have to provide to this. And of course, our engineering is getting better and better and more focused into solutions, both engineering solutions as well as changing other parameters, like, for example, we're reducing the imperviousness of our surfaces, making sure that we understand better how the watersheds in Arlington work. So we dedicated a lot of time into that. I'm very excited for the Reed School Vault going forward. This will provide significant relief to begin with. The dredging project along Fort Mailoran is also, it wasn't the constant agenda. It is a significant investment in one of our major watersheds here in the region, and not only Arlington, and a common investment area for us in the city of Alexandria. Very exciting to see them going forward.
What does it mean to have some of these partnerships with entities that you wouldn't necessarily think of for something like stormwater and flood resiliency? How is that assisting our efforts in improving the conditions here in the county?
Well, I think it's part of, we had an opportunity to innovate at the Reed School, and that partnership with Arlington Public Schools is going to address a problem that we, as Takis said, we all saw those pictures of, and I went in the homes, I think Takis did as well. You went into the homes of people in the Westover community, as just one example, Bluemont as well, we responded by changing and accelerating the capital investment in that Reed School project. And we had our engineers talking with Arlington Public Schools leadership and their engineers, and we decided it was important to just take this opportunity underneath the field there at the Reed School to to help protect one of our watersheds, the Tennyson Run watershed, that has been a big source of concern. So I think that's a great partnership. With the city of Alexandria is also key. You started this segment, Kara, by talking about the stormwater changes, our overall strategy. And I think it's important to think back to July of 2019 and the urgency with which we felt we had to increase our resiliency. We can't prevent every flood, but we can increase the protection so that more and more of our residents are not, their homes aren't being ripped through by flooding. And so we're going to be more resilient. And it's an update to a strategy that we started a while back. And it actually serves our whole community, because 4 Mile Run, not everybody knows this, but in 1972, we had a big hurricane that sat, and South Arlington, then that part of Arlington was underwater. So this dredging is updating that approach. This vault is part of it. And we also took a couple of other steps, one big other step, to address one of our other watersheds. So I think we've been innovative at the Reed School. We've been responsible with the dredging piece. And we also had another project come up that was at Donaldson Run. And that was not easy. And we worked through that. This is an example where the whole board didn't agree, which is fine, but we did so thoughtfully, and we did so understanding and listening to the input we had from the community. So that's a third piece of our overall resiliency and flood responding strategy that came just out of this board meeting.
It was a very hot topic. And of course, the board also approved 3 neighborhood conservation projects that also had involvement with stormwater management. We had Ashton Heights, Dominion Hills, and Glen Carlin. So what are some of the highlights of these projects? Obviously, not as extreme in nature, but all of these things help to improve Arlington's flood resiliency, correct?
Well, I think, Takis, you want to talk, you were involved, and I think it's different levels, right? We need to work at the a very narrow neighborhood level, all the way up to the larger projects. But go ahead, Takis.
Absolutely, and in every single time we are one of the great aspects of being collaborative, whether this is with another jurisdiction or with another part of Arlington, with the APS, for example, or with the neighborhood associations and the neighborhood conservation program. These are places where this collaboration happens, and we can make progress by taking advantage of opportunities and streamlining investment in what is really important. Flood resiliency, stormwater management are extremely important priorities right now for the board, for the community, for everybody involved. But then there are other things like, for example, sidewalks and appropriate facilities and traffic calming and management. So all these things flow together in improving our neighborhoods. For example, in North Oakland Street, this is a street full of kids, as our residents told us, and we visited that and we saw that, and it doesn't have any sidewalks. So now it will have at least one sidewalk. It will be a completely nicely produced one according to modern standards that will accommodate kids and seniors and people with strollers and people on wheelchairs, and that will increase and elevate the feeling and the civic quality of this neighborhood significantly, which is the whole purpose of the neighborhood conservation program, which we are still continuing and will be continuing with all these investments in collaboration with everybody involved.
And I think that's well said, describing there's a small spring garden stormwater piece at the North Oakland project.
Yes.
And so you covered that well. I do think there was a lot of discussion of the Donaldson Run tributary B, and I just think that it's important to share that we learned from the conversation and we all agree there are steps on impervious cover countywide that we need to take. The climate is changing, and there was significant discussion on Donaldson Run. I think the board didn't end up agreeing with all those who spoke, but we did hear and listen deeply to the concerns. And I think that that will be productive in the years to come as we continue to adapt our resiliency strategies. So I wanted to be that honest, that not all agreement on Donaldson Run, and a significant project, we will lose some trees, and that is a fair concern. I ended up supporting, and others perhaps did, because it's a difficult calculus, and we're looking at a lot of water that's coming down that tributary. So, I think that's just a note to reinforce with all those listening that we may not have agreed with every one of your positions, but we heard and listened deeply, I believe, to the concerns you raised.
Absolutely. And actually, I think that there is a huge agreement on one thing. We will never leave a good disagreement go to waste. We all will learn from that. We'll all will grow into that. That's not only your board, it's also your staff, it's the neighborhoods that were involved, the civic activists, the scientists that were involved. We all go out from a deliberative process enriched, wiser. And there will be the next project. Well, we will start at the even better position, and we'll be able to deliver even better for the people in Arlington.
Well, I think that positive outlook right there, Takis, is a perfect note on which to end. So that will bring us to the end of another county board wrap up. Matt, Takis, thank you both for joining us today to discuss the board's decisions this month, and of course, how those decisions affect all of us as Arlingtonians. And thank you for joining us today. We hope you will join us again next month when, of course, we will be examining the board's adoption of the fiscal year 2022 operating budget, including the board's decision on the real estate tax rate for 2021, and of course, all of the other decisions the board makes at its April meeting. We'll see you then.